Hi, this is Scott Marker with another episode of Treasure Valley NIA QuickTips. How this came to be is I'm the franchise owner of a network and action franchise. We're out of Houston, Texas. I was number 27. Now we have 148 across the United States and the world. And it's just people like me that I love connecting people and helping them get referral partners and just growing their businesses. Have three groups I run here in Treasure Valley, Idaho, and through that I just meet a lot of people that are experts in their field. And a lot of times I find that you might think things are simple, but and any company works, but you'll find out that really you need to make sure you're a little bit more knowledgeable because you can make a mistake that'll cost you a lot of money. So that's my goal here is to help you not make mistakes. So today's a perfect example. Kyle, introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Kyle Wilson. I'm an estimator with Boise Home Painting. I've worked for Boise Home Painting for about 4 months now. I actually had a painting experience about 100 years ago, back when I was in college. And then for a few years after that, I was fortunate to work for a great guy who became a very close friend of mine and ran his company in a very similar way to how our owner Chris runs Boise Home Painting. And so I got to see, I guess, the good side of the industry, and obviously built some really good relationships through that process. And so when this opportunity came about, it was just it was a good fit for me.
That's great. So how did how the company come to be overall?
Yeah, great question. I To me, it's one of those stories that you love to hear in terms of how somebody gets into a business or starts a business. It's find a need and fill it, right? As basic as
Right.
that. And so our owner, Chris Jordan, he was trying to find a local painting company to paint his own house 5 years ago or so. And, he wasn't getting callbacks. He had guys setting appointments with him and they weren't showing up.
Wow.
And he went through that for several weeks and he thought, holy cow, is this really the state of the residential painting industry in the valley right now? And it just so happens that he had grown up in painting families in another state. And so he'd been in the business. He was, I believe he was running a welding company at the time, but had grown up in the painting business, had family members that had run successful painting companies. And so, he saw opportunity and seized it. And the growth over the past 4+ years has just been amazing.
That's great. I mean, you start off and you're just the owner, and then so how many employees you have now?
Um, you'll have to bear with me here because
Okay.
we just brought on some new talent to beef
Okay.
up our crews, and we're actually looking to hire another crew, possibly two. But I think we're right around 20
Wow.
at this time.
And
Yeah,
yeah, I love that. That's great growth. I mean, wow. Because I meet people in other trades and they're like they get stuck at, two people, the owner
yeah,
and so the owner ends up being the operator, not that. So
right.
that's great. Like I said, I know several people, know the owner, know you, know other people there, and it's just the quality. I just like it's just here in the Treasure Valley, Idaho. We have a lot of really great people, but it's nice to know, you have great people that you can do business with. So I love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, when it comes to painting, it's like a lot of people I bring on the show. I bring them on because um, it could be roofing, it could be flooring, it could be gutters, whatever it is, and people always just think, anybody can do it, and they can't because I hear all these horror stories from over the years of people that hired the wrong company, and so what are some misconceptions about um, you know or the best ways to pick out a good painting company?
Yeah, that's a that's a great question. Obviously, as I think a lot of us know, the barrier to entry in Idaho, at least, to becoming a contractor is
Yeah.
is pretty minimal.
Zero.
So yeah, yeah. So you see all kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's we're living in the digital age, the age of reviews, I think going online, and that's where most of our customers start outside of our customers who are referred to us by existing customers, of course, which we're starting to generate a significant number of those now. But I think going online and looking at the reviews, and if you read enough reviews, you can tell if they're legitimate or not.
Yeah.
Look at the company history. How long have they been in business? It's easy to go on the Secretary of State website, look up the company, make
Yep.
sure they're legit, make sure that their filings are current, those kind of things. Do some research and check out their liability and workers' comp insurance. Just make sure that they're fully licensed and capable of doing good work and not putting you as a customer in a bind. And then asking friends, family for referrals. And for us, we're so extremely transparent that if you have us come out and analyze your project, we're just going to be 100% honest with you. Once we learn kind of the scope of the project and your timelines and your goals, and what it is you're looking for, we're just going to shoot straight with you and let you know if we're going to be a good fit or not. And if we are, then we're going to let you know, every step of the way what the process is going to look like, and that we're locally owned. I always often tell people where our office is located. You can drive by, see we have a physical location. I think that's important to folks because you and I have had this conversation. You can go online and search companies out, and they have little to no um,
Yep.
presence online, right?
Yep.
Or no reviews, no presence, no phone number. To me, that's a big red flag if I'm a customer looking for a contractor.
Yeah. And the a good example is years ago when I first moved in my house, it was like 5-year-old house, but the trim had faded. It's for you guys, your teams, but it had faded and it looked whatever. It needed to be painted. So I don't remember how I hired, but it was a guy, and he actually fell off my roof. Now he didn't get hurt, but when you went back to say make sure that they're licensed and all this stuff, I mean that all of a sudden I went, something. And then I had my driveway done, and I talked to a owner of a local insurance company. He says, "Well, make sure that they have insurance." And I went, "Oh," and it took me forever for them to get the insurance. And they finally did to prove insurance. Anyway, but that's a perfect example is because your team, because I've so for example, you guys when your team comes out, everybody works for the company, right? There's no subcontractors.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Correct.
And,
That's important to us. We feel like that's key in a lot of different areas. It's key for retention because we take really good care of our people and they enjoy working for us. They get paid well. Um, it's also key for quality assurance, just making sure that they're on the same page. They understand our brand and what we're about. They understand
yeah.
the quality expectation, and they go out and exceed that every single day.
Yeah, and that's something you mentioned something to me, and I mean it kind of resonated was um you guys get called out a lot of times to repaint somebody that painted their house a year ago or 2 years ago, It's because prepping is a big anyway. So kind of talk about that. What do you guys see sometimes when you come out to houses that have been painted, you know, fairly I mean, in the last year or two or so, and the paint's already
Sure.
fallen off.
Yeah, it's far too common, Scott. To be honest, just a couple weeks ago, I was looking at a house, brand new, new construction. It was 3 years old, and back of the house, paint was already falling off.
Wow.
And I ran my finger across the siding, and literally the paint turned to dust. And so, the chances of that being faulty paint are pretty minimal. Most contractors use, pretty high quality paint. So that, what I figured out as I studied it a little bit closer was that, they just painted over the dust and dirt that had accumulated on the
Oh,
siding from the time the house was sided to the time it was actually painted. and who knows how many days that is. But if all you have to do is drive around in new construction neighborhoods, and you can see houses sitting there waiting for paint with all kinds of construction going on around them, dust, dirt
Oh,
flying everywhere, right?
yep,
And so
yep.
if the painter just comes in and paints it in that state, that's going to be the result. You're painting a dirty surface, so it doesn't matter what paint you use, it's just not going to bond properly, and it's going to fail pretty quickly.
So when it comes to paint, there must be, I mean, there must be some type of, there must be, if you go out and I don't know anything about paint. So can you go out and buy the cheapest paint? And then, I mean, what's the differences in paint?
Like a lot of other product lines in other industries, it varies greatly, um, from what you would consider an entry level or a low quality, low price paint to, there's some pretty exotic paints out there for more specific applications, I guess you could say. Um, that they're going to be far more expensive. Um, we use Sherwin-Williams paints, high quality contractor grade paints, and our goal for our customers is to get them 15 to 20 years out of their paint job. So you're not going to get that. You can't achieve that, regardless of how meticulous you are in the print process. You're not going to achieve that, with a cheaper level paint. So
I say, because like I said, when you mentioned that, again, my house was 5 years old, and the trim was completely. I mean, the raw. I don't know what color it was. It was so faded, you know. And so obviously they just didn't do something right on that.
sure.
Luckily, it was my whole house. Uh, so, uh, what are some of the biggest mistakes when people are thinking of painting?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think one that we see is that, hey, we have some budget constraints. We are going to go with the cheapest guy, and it's going to be okay. That's going to turn out fine. And if their goal is just to, get through the next few years with their paint job, then it might be.
Right.
But if they don't want to have to go through this process again for quite some time, then it certainly pays to maybe hold off on that project and sock away a little bit more money to pay for a little bit higher quality job. Because what happens is if you let your house sit for too long with damaged siding, damaged trim, where the paint has failed, the wood is starting to split, where
Right.
moisture can get in, that it doesn't take long before all of a sudden now you're looking at replacing several sheets of siding and a lot of trim pieces. That gets really expensive on top of painting. So it's super important to maintain your paint and keep it in great shape so you don't have to, deal with those larger expenses of related to wood damage down the road. So I
Yeah,
think
they
that's, yeah, certainly, going with a low price painter. That's one. Another one we see is that painting companies have painting crews kind of sitting around waiting, for the next job to come through. And it doesn't happen very often, but every now and again, we get a call, and it's a non-emergency type situation. It's not like it's the house was flooded, there's wall damage that's getting repaired, and we need a painter there in a week, kind of a thing. But it's just that they just didn't plan ahead far enough, and they're calling and they want their interior painted yesterday. And for us, we're obviously booked out well beyond that, and we just can't take on those types of projects. So certainly planning ahead is important.
cool. Yeah. They they was one of the other podcasts had a Ralph on. He's a forensic flooring inspector, and it's just like a lot of stuff. You just think oh, just go the cheapest, and then when you start talking to people that are kind of experts in their field, you start going, wow, maybe I need to think about this a little more because he kind of talked about selecting the right type of company to be doing some flooring and somebody mentioned on that, I posted that podcast, and one of my friends that's out of state said that he hired the cheapest contractor, and it ended up costing them. They weren't licensed or not. Cost them $30,000 because it fails. The floors all failed.
Wow.
So
Jesus.
I'm like, sometimes you just gotta you gotta be careful. But if
Yeah.
it, like you were saying, if you're gonna paint it to flip a house or something, yeah, that's a good thing. But if you're gonna paint it because you want to look at your house, you want to look good for years to come.
Hmm.
You might, yeah, like you said, you might want to invest a little bit more money getting your house painted.
Absolutely.
So, you kind of already answered this, but um, what so when you guys focus uh, you guys do both residential and commercial.
Hmm.
So what when you guys go out to do jobs, what percentage of jobs are um just because, hey, whoever painted before did an okay job, but it needs to be painted again, versus you go out there and it's back to what you said, the company, the I mean, how obvious, I mean, how many times, what percentage roughly do you see that just it looks, you guys can tell pretty quickly that the company before just did a terrible job of not making sure things were clean, not making it prepped, using the wrong paint.
Yeah, that's I think it would be tough to put a number to that, but
Yeah.
it's a fairly high percentage of
Okay.
those. On the flip side, I looked at a house just a couple days ago, and the house was 18, I think you said 17, 18 years old, original paint. And the only areas that were starting to fail and fade were areas of high sun exposure.
Oh,
And he had good gutter protection all the way around, which is super important.
yeah.
To keep water away from your siding and trim boards. But yeah, so I told him, I said, yeah, you got a good paint job there. It lasted,
Yeah.
that's your first paint job on this house. It lasted 17, 18 years. That's great. But that's not the norm. More
Mm.
times than not, it's, we're going out to a house, it's 5, 7, less than 10 years old, and it's in pretty bad shape. Maybe needed paint last year or even the year before, theoretically. And yeah, so you don't know. Well, were there shortcuts in the prep? Was it just a low budget paint job just to get us through for a few years? There's a lot of factors there, but we see it quite often, and we're hypersensitive to that because, like I said, our goal is the work that we do is intended to get our customers 15 to 20 years. That's the goal on their paint job. Obviously,
Wow.
we can't do much about somebody who is tearing up their siding on a weekly basis
Right.
with their weed
Yeah.
whacker, right? But for folks that are they're willing to take care of their siding and with good maintenance and they have good gutter coverage. That's really important. We can achieve that. So
So going forward here, what what are you guys prepping for or hoping for, for businesses, like right now, like go I mean, because you guys are kind of planning ahead, so you have businesses, let's say like Thanksgiving and stuff like that. You guys, that's when the winter comes on and stuff. You guys do a lot more interior type of jobs. So are you guys like out trying to get people to think about, hey, you're not going to be no one's going to be in your office coming up here, or during Thanksgiving, or school or something like that? Are you guys out there kind of looking for those type of jobs, or helping people kind of get motivated to think about that, so they're not calling it the last minute?
yeah, that's as much as we can. Certainly, when the end of October, Halloween is kind of that point where we're typically moving out of exterior painting due to weather
Okay.
and moving inside. And yeah, so we're having more and more of those types of conversations about, especially on the commercial side, is there going to be some downtime when you guys will not be, operational, when our
Right.
guys can get in there. And again, that's all just uh, having conversations with the customer about their goals. and what their situation looks like and how we can help them meet their goals. But yeah, we're definitely the conversations are already starting to shift now here in August towards more interior work and getting people thinking about that. We have several customers who have already gone on our calendar for winter.
Oh, that's
Some of the
great.
conversations we're having right now with our exterior customers is that if they can hold off and wait until spring, we can offer them a discount for doing that. It actually helps us as well because
Oh,
we're getting spring exterior jobs booked on the schedule, so our guys can make that immediate transition from interior work to exterior work,
oh.
come March.
Well, that's great. I mean, it's all about planning, you know. So I
Right.
love that. So yeah. So if someone's thinking about painting their house next year, it's a good time to reach out to you guys and get on the schedule early and maybe get a part of a discount.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, this has been great, Kyle. I really appreciate it. I'll put your contact information in the show notes. But is there
Okay.
any best way to get a hold of you if someone wants an estimate?
Yeah, yeah. The best way is, like we talked about earlier, starting that research, go online, go to our website,
Okay.
boisehomepainting.com,
Okay.
and they can submit a request, or our office number is that they call the office number, talk to our amazing office manager, Aileen, and just mention my name, Kyle Wilson, and she'll set up a time where I come out and do a consultation, and we can put together an estimate. With our estimating process, it's on the spot. I create an estimate and I can literally put it in their
Cool.
inbox and show them the price before I leave, which is nice.
And so one other quick thing is, which I think is cool you guys have. So if someone's like me and I just can't visualize anything, I have to like see it. You guys have, I think your lady in the office, she does that. But don't you guys have a cool TV in your office that can help people kind of see what their house is going to look like?
Yeah, yeah, it's basically just a software program where every time Chris Saban and I go out and we're doing on-site estimates, we're taking pictures, and so we can upload our pictures onto our big screen. And for our customers, they can come in. They might bring in some paint chips, or of course, we have a whole bunch of paint decks in our office, and that's a great starting point. That you and I are the same way. I can't make paint decisions off of a tiny little 1 inch chip. I don't think most people really can, but it's a good starting point.
Mm,
And
mm.
so it helps people kind of dial into something semi close. And
Yeah.
then with the software program, it's literally a point and click. They select a color that they want to see on the body of their home, and they populate that. It allows them to be able to see, like a whole side of a house in that color rather
Wow.
than just on a little paint chip. And then they select another color for their trim. And pretty quickly, you can eliminate. It's really a process of elimination to get down
Yeah.
to what you really want. And Aileen is just masterful. She's great with the colors. She knows every color combination that has gone on every project that we have since day one. So she can make suggestions. It's a super helpful project for most of our clients that need that help.
Yeah, see, that's a great value add right there. I mean, that's what I know. Get wrapping up here, but I thought, no, I want you to bring that up because that again, I am not that like you're saying, a little paint chip. I don't get it. I don't see how you can visualize that in a house when you guys told me about that. I thought, now that's cool. That's a great. And then the fact that she has all that knowledge of all that that because again, if you don't know, I mean, if you're new to this whole thing, what colors go together, what colors don't go together. That's just not me. So that's a great value add. So, well, cool.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on, Kyle. And this is another episode of Treasure Valley NIA Quick Tips and appreciate it. Until next time, thanks, everybody.